The hardest villains to overcome are the ones that are correct or make a great point that most can agree with. In the Foundation Festival arc, Commander Rivale of the Shadow Warriors is a perfect example. Where it usually goes wrong isn't the diagnosing of the symptoms of society and the threats against it. It always comes down to solution. Spoiler warning, but stay anyways because you know you can't help yourself. And before we continue, it's another day in the Frieren Manga hiatus. Yamada Kanehito and Abe Tsukasa are laughing because they know how fans will react when the great mage Serie, the beat goddess, survives.
合格だ。
The moral and ethical boundaries one is willing to cross, like committing necessary evils, aka assassinations, is where some may say is for the greater good, or where some may also say you shouldn't have to commit a sin to overcome what is evil or a danger to the world. Where there is a legitimate threat to the peace of the world, one has to fight and get rid of it, and that is why there is such a gray area of what the right thing to do is. In the Shadow Warriors case, let's just eat everyone from the shadows for a better world with Commander Lowe and whoever may be the ultimate villain in the end that wants to rid the world of magic being that solution, and yeeting what we know right now as the most powerful magic user in the world in the great mage Serie, an elf from the Age of Mythic. That is the issue. What is the best solution for the world we all want to live in? There is a spectrum of solutions that could make the world a better place, or a world where it could just become dystopian. The current emperor in present-day Frieren in the Foundation Festival storyline is well aware of the decline of the empire, and the best example of the inside rot is the Shadow Warriors. The Shadow Warriors are allowed to carry out top-secret assassinations for the greater good or deemed threats to the empire. The problem is, with great power comes a great responsibility, and everyone with a good moral and ethical compass has different solutions. The power of what each Shadow Warrior commander cell had included making decisions that even the Emperor was unaware of. That makes the Shadow Warriors, and now Commander Lowe, the best examples of doing the wrong things for the right reasons. This is where as an audience we can agree to disagree. There are a lot of people in the world that think if this person died, the world is better off without them. That dilemma is the heart of this arc. If this person doesn't exist in the world anymore, then in your mind, you might think, we'll let the assassination slide. And that is where the Emperor from before this present one disbanded the Shadow Warriors 16 years prior. You can't let a bunch of humans with all this power to assassinate people without any checks and balances. It's already an organization that the public would greatly disapprove of if they knew it existed. In the Golden Land arc, the star villain was a demon of the Golden Land who was in search for coexistence with humans. To find a way to coexist and be amicable between the races is a good thing, right? Yes, we can all agree that sounds good in theory, except he keeps yeeting people and betrayed his good friend in Gluck to try to find out and still couldn't comprehend the emotions that would make him understand humans. And the thing is, he would have kept doing it until he achieved his ultimate goal, just like the Demon King tried, which ultimately shaved off a third of the human population at its peak. And I have a lot of videos on this if you guys want to check that out. So far in the latest arc in the Frieren Manga, in the Foundation Festival arc, our first big villain who only considers himself as a pawn is Commander Rivale of the Shadow Warriors. Many villains tend to be right, but there are always a caveat. The solution to helping the world is a problem humanity has faced since the dawn of time, and as a human being, we are flawed creatures that rely on deities or powers beyond us to set us on a path to live peacefully. From a demon perspective, they are like creatures of the lower hemisphere, and what I mean is creatures that exist to agitate, rather than be a defined peaceful collective like humans can be. I had videos about the Demon King and coexistence, so check those out because it will make this point drive home even more and make more sense. However, to put it simply, demons can live for centuries and probably thousands of years, so they can afford to be individualistic. The same thing can be said about elves, with the Great Mage Serie being the current best example, except elves retain their humanity. I guess we have to find out about the lore behind Minas the Witch. And that is the entire point of this video, to find humanity's answers to thrive and live on without threats to its existence. That is why Commander Reve is a villain. Beyond just the general morality and ethics of just assassinating what you deem as humanity's threats, but to choose Serie out of all people to yeet based upon someone else's actions at the Foundation Festival Ball. It's not Frieren or anyone else as the main mission and target, but the Shadow Warriors will do anything for the cause of taking down the Great Mage who has walked this earth since the era of Mythic, meaning she may have lived since the era of Avik the Sage and may even know the goddess of creation. That is how old Serie potentially is, meaning great power and wisdom are within her possession. And what great power means, you are a world threat. If she ever turns into what we currently know about the Great Mage Minas the Witch, that brought endless wars to the Southern Lands and was accused of high treason, then that means a world-ending entity potentially exists. Because with Minas, it is hinted that with her power, an entire village could be gone in an instant, along with the surrounding cities, as collateral damage. We have to assume Serie is on this level of power. An entity, a deified creature, someone that can potentially take down an entire army single-handedly, who can possibly turn evil, and all of a sudden, the world could collapse under her rule. What do we know about Serie since she was introduced? Power, ambition, qualities that, if are in the hands of villains, could make them everyone else's nightmare. The problem is, these qualities are not tied to good or evil. They are tied to the beholder. That suggests that humanity is at the whims of the beholder of power, always. Which takes us once again to Commander Lowe, who wants to eliminate all magic from the world. In Commander Reve's backstory, magic was associated with everything traumatizing to him. Zoltrak, a demon-piercing killing spell created by the late Elder Sage of Corruption, Qual, is now humanity's foundational killing magic symbolized as the destruction of the Southern Lands. In chapter 147, it breaks down the motivations of why he wants to eliminate magic. Humans and demons alike will lose their mana and we will be rid of magic. The laws of the world, rewritten in the time of myth, shall return to how they once were. I have videos breaking down the theories of how Commander Reve could do such a thing. And check this one out, that's about time traveling. Is Commander Lowe correct in his stance to yeet those with great power? The ordinary human cannot protect itself without power to counteract those with monstrous power. So the solution could be, how about we just make the really strong people less powerful? And let's just take out all the ones that are really powerful. In chapter 133, the Shadow Warriors discuss their views about taking down Serie and are flabbergasted at their mission of being able to take down such a monster. And a monster Serie is, described by Shrit of the Shadow Warriors. Since demons and monsters consist of mostly mana, wouldn't this take away the remaining demon remnant threat to humanity? We know someone like Himmel might not even have mana at all, as Frieren described in the Goddess Monument arc, since he was able to fight while trapped by Grausam's hypnosis. Imagine never allowing another Demon King-like threat again if you just take away the one power they possess. What would be remaining would be warriors and heroes that rely on brute strength, like a Stark, the Shadow Warriors, and those like Rivale, the Bloody God of War. Commander Reve's goals are those for good, and one where humanity could thrive with magic no longer being a threat. But is this what is best for the world? From an audience perspective, we know of the ones that are for good that possess magic. Obviously Frieren. And you would have to think Serie is too. Look at what she created in the Continental Magic Association. Is taking all that magic away, and what magical things that could provide for the world better for the safety of the world? Kanehito, has put us in this moral quandary because it has real world ramifications in real life. But those are all really touchy subjects that I'm sure we can all assume of right now. I think the Foundation Festival arc is the perfect mirror for humanity's biggest obstacles we face as a race, and may end up being an allegory for humanity's possible destruction as a warning. As a plot, we all know the answers for what we truly want. Magic is for the greater good. Serie being alive is for the greater good. Look at the Continental Magic Association. They help protect and secure cities and rural areas where the Empire cannot help itself. Even if you remove magic, new threats always present themselves, and it's usually ourselves that are the problem, humans. With the Southern Lands being that example, where Commander Lowe helped, said it himself, that demon influence in the Southern Lands was very little. It really was just humans versus humans. However, Commander Lowe makes a great point that we need a way to help ourselves against threats, no matter who and what they are, and removing magic is his solution. And I don't think he's necessarily wrong. It's just a solution that may end up being in vain, because another threat beyond the powers of magic and mana will 100% present itself if there is a universe where he is successful at removing magic from the world.